Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for attending this online conference organized by the delegation of the Catalan government to the Nordic countries. The primary reason behind the decision to host today's session in the context of the delegation's initiative North-South Dialogues is basically because life sciences is a highly relevant subject. Indeed, both Sweden and Catalonia enjoy a competitive research ecosystem, with the strength in this area being the life science industry one of the most important sectors in both countries. Therefore, with this event today, we would cover how Sweden and Catalonia are doing in the life science, in the scientific and technological sectors, and what opportunities, challenges, synergies ultimately would be called upon. We have an outstanding panel today, and I am convinced that there are going to be insightful interventions and presentations from them. Afterwards, after their explanations, we would engage in a debate, a 20-minute debate briefly, with our speakers on the discussion table. Therefore, and for the audience that are following us, please be aware that you can use the YouTube channel, the chat, where you can pose questions to our panelists, and you can start writing your comments at any time. After this main block of the conference, we would like to make known an event that for us, it is a highly relevant one, which links solidarity with research. This is an annual crowdfunding event broadcasted in the Catalan television since 1992 called La Marató. It aims to raise funds for scientific research into diseases, but not only. Alongside being a fundraising drive, this event also informs the Catalan public about the year's edition disease and explains the need for research aimed at preventing and curing it. This particular year, 2020, La Marató will be focused on the new coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. But before we move on, let me convey to you some data or briefing about life sciences in Catalonia. Catalonia has a high-quality scientific ecosystem. Since the year 2000, the number of different high-level scientific infrastructures has increased in number, but also in excellence, being Catalonia home of prestigious and renowned facilities. And also, and since the beginning of this year, 2020, the BioRegion of Catalonia startups have raised over 120 million euros in investment, more than half of it involving international VCs. Venture capitals. Indeed, life sciences is the second largest group among the startups in Catalonia, where we also have almost 90 research institutions and more than 1,000 companies in a diverse sector, led by the biotechs, but also with a growing digital health segment. With regards to the European Research Council's grants, Catalonia gets 3.2% of the awarded ERC's grants. And as for the prestigious Marie Curie actions, 3.9% of their fellowships programs are for Catalan researchers and institutions. Our government, we have also developed a platform to map the smart specialization of Catalonia, which integrates and interrelates open data from science and innovation projects. And just as an example, Catalonia and Sweden have currently 133 collaborative projects in life science, according to the data that we have downloaded by Restrescat, this platform. However, despite having a competitive and robust research system, there is room for improvement, especially in the transfer of technologies and knowledge between public and private actors to enhance the value of innovation. It is therefore important to find ways to channel private and public funds to speed up the transition between research and the market. In this regard, this year, a national agreement on knowledge society has been signed in Catalonia to foster a shared strategy for universities, research institutions, and businesses. This agreement puts innovation at the center of Catalan government's 2024 strategy to increase the share of knowledge-based activity in the economy to the level, ideally, of the leading innovators such as Sweden. Thus, in Catalonia, we should aim, and our hope must be to reach the same level as the country's leaders in social progress index and in economic development. So, before I pass the screen to our renowned speakers, let me share with you a couple of ideas. And as a useful disclaimer, those are my views. Nowadays, there are many debates, articles about how the impact of this health crisis is going to affect all of us, to our everyday life. Any crisis might bring a structural change, but what really matters is to assess what kind of a structural change it would be. Somehow, we have to show an extraordinary capacity for reaction, because we are not talking just about the health crisis, not talking just about the environment disruption. The changes will be huge, with a great impact and affecting all sectors and industries. Indeed, we could also envisage the disruption of new technologies and science advancements in biotechnology, nanotechnology, and other areas as the new emerging technologies with a very high transformative power lying ahead. Therefore, we need to understand that there is going to be a new normality. Nowadays, I like this quote very, very much, because nowadays it is commonly said that we are not in a change of era, but in a kind of era of change. Thus, we must take an attitude in which we should adapt to the disruptive changes that are coming, both in its technical and economical matters primarily, but also the cultural, ethical, and social areas. There is a new sensibility ahead of us, and the younger generation will have to lead and deal with it. Perhaps science would be the answer, who knows? The United Nations SDGs, whose goals Catalonia is highly engaged, emphasizes the role of science, technology, and innovation in order to achieve the transformational impact of the various SDGs. Paradoxically, it has been the COVID-19 the factor that has emphasized the importance of research in our lives and in our society. Quite often research and the endurance in it has been so invisible, and we all must commit to make it more visible. Basically, for the central role research plays in our lives, in our security, in our health and well-being. Research ultimately is to find solutions for the major problems of daily life. So, as I've already said, I am very pleased to share the screen today with such an outstanding panel of speakers from Catalonia and from Sweden. I wish to thank to our panelists for your willingness to be part of it. Thus, it is my pleasure to give the screen to the first speaker, Mr. Björn Arvidsson, Managing Director of Uppsala Stunds Life Science. Stunds Life Science is a player in the regional and national life science ecosystem in Sweden to address both small and large life science company needs, aiming to unite the collective forces of the region to promote the growth of a strong and sustainable life science sector. As it is stated in Stunds' website, we make life science more competitive every day. Please, Mr. Arvidsson.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will share my screen now and show you a few pictures. There we are. So thank you very much for inviting us to participate in this seminar. My name is Björn Arvidsson and I represent Stunds, as said. And we are a foundation for the collaboration between academia, industry, and the public sector in order to create a knowledge-based and sustainable growth in our society. We operate in different themes like innovation and tech, energy and environment, sustainable societies, and life sciences, which is where I have the focus most of my time. We are founded by our municipality, our county, both the universities, the SLU, the Swedish Agricultural University, as well as Uppsala University, and the industry represented by the Chamber of Commerce in the board and in the management team. I will not dig too deeply into Uppsala only, because we will also talk about Sweden in general, but I would like to mention a few things. The Nordic cooperation, every second year they publish a report they call the State of the Nordic Region. And in the last report from January 2020, they emphasized that Uppsala is the city outside of the capital regions that actually has the highest potential of growth, much due to having the strong universities, a strong life science sector, a high proportion of people with high education, a high level of R&D investments, and the closeness to an international airport like Arlanda and the capital region of Stockholm. Uppsala has a very strong life science community, which has been improved over the last 20 years, even if our modern history dates back to the innovations made already in the beginning of the 20th century. With more than 100 companies, where a handful are large global actors with manufacturing, many are actually born in the laboratories of any of the two universities we have. However great the local prerequisites is, being a part of a larger community, it's where we will build our future success. Uppsala is actually among 2.7 million cities, 3,000 large cities, and 455 megalopolises that actually wants the same thing. And that is external investors, talents, and establishing companies. Uppsala is quite small in population, with just above 200,000 inhabitants, as is Sweden with its approximately 10 million in population. That means that Uppsala is only 2% of Sweden's population, while Sweden is actually less than 1 per mil of the world population. And even so, we are able to compete. But to do that, we need to own our own narrative, a narrative that includes our close neighbors in Sweden as well as in the Nordics. And in order to attract attention from the rest of the world, we need a Nordic story. And when the external actors see the Nordics, then we'll tell the Swedish story before we can show how well different regions in Sweden complement each other in terms of collaboration, competences, and strength. In addition, we should also remind ourselves that external forces always have a stronger impact on the smaller systems. That means that however great we are at building strong ecosystems in Uppsala, in Stockholm, or in Sweden as a whole, external forces and events will always have a higher impact. Just see what happened when the pandemic came. Similarly, companies and researchers that wants to be in the forefront needs to be part of the bigger community, with networks and partnerships everywhere in the world where new innovations and great discoveries are born. Thus, we need to be part of a larger community, and today's seminar is a humble part of that ambition. What do we see in terms of developments and trends within life sciences then? I would say that in general, and emphasized by the pandemic, I see three things: the public-private collaboration, a flip in the system, and a focus on health. So first, the public-private collaboration is necessary in order to build on the society we have been used to in Europe for the last century. We still have a strong public sector within the European Union that will stick around for some time, while more things will be privatized, as well as an understanding that the private sector is the driving force behind development and innovation, which will make us competitive in the future. But in order for the private sector to be successful, they need to be able to work closely with the public sector in order to build competence and generate evidence. With the pandemic situation, this has been obvious. where the private sector has shared safety equipment, changed their production towards producing more of that, and it is quite obvious that the solution of the medical challenge of the pandemic will arise from a public-private partnering in the development of the vaccines. And we see from the large manufacturing companies that we have, for instance, in Uppsala, that they are on full production, serving with the research and production of the vaccines we all long for. Secondly, the flip in the system. With that, I mean that we need to move from a technology push situation towards a technology pull situation. Today, there is often a mismatch between innovations and the needs in the society. Thus, the transaction between supplier and buyer is inefficient and creates friction and conflict. Plus, it is slow and do not build the trust needed to keep up in terms of competition. With the pandemic situation, we see that as soon as the public sector realizes its needs, calculates its worth, and offers to pay for innovation, something fantastic happens. The speed which new vaccines are developed and tested has never been seen before in history. And if we learn from this situation, we realize that this is a great flip in the system that will benefit us in terms of speed, efficiency, and competitiveness if maintained and used on a broader scale to meet the future health needs. Third, our focus shifts toward more and more towards health. Our health might be the most precious thing we have. And with all the digitization and the tools it provides, it shows that we can, as individuals, be more part of our health or care than before. In addition, tools and knowledge is available globally, and you can easily compare with just a push on a button. Society also realizes that the healthy population is the best investment, while at the same time, no public system or privately insured healthcare can pay for all the services asked for in an equal manner, which causes constraints among the people. Where life science is perceived as the ability to understand and enhance the qualities of life, we soon realize that our know-how and focus should be on the proactive health instead of the reactive care. The campfires that will gather and build cross-disciplinary collaborations in order to strengthen European as well as Swedish life sciences will be those that are built on digital infrastructures and data-driven approaches, as well as with a strong focus on the sustainable development. And here we need to work smart. And smart means being part of a larger community. And with that, thanks for me.
Thank you, Björn. Now we move to our next speaker, who is Mia Ekdahl, Head of Communications of the Sahlgrenska Science Park, Life Science of West Sweden. This park focuses on innovation and business acceleration, and it is quite remarkable how they aim to tie together the quadruple helix perspective, powers of industry, academia, healthcare, and government, extending to society with individuals who want to make a difference. Thank you, Mia, for accepting our invitation, and the screen is yours.
Thank you, Francesca. As I said, my name is Mia Ekdahl, and I'm really pleased to be given this opportunity to speak. And thank you, Björn, for a great introduction to Sweden and Swedish life science. I would like to just confirm everything that Björn has said. So I represent Sahlgrenska Science Park, which is a science park that in many ways act like a virtual science park, meaning we have our home in West Sweden, but we act where and when we are needed to support and accelerate life science. I will show you a few slides just to keep you on track of what I'm talking about. But just as Björn said, Sweden is a small country and it's all about collaboration. Without collaboration, we will be nowhere. And that is also part of our history, is how you become successful. And I believe that you see the same in Catalonia and everywhere you go in the world, that collaboration is the basis and foundation for successful industries and successful sectors. So let me just Let's see if this one works. I'm sorry. Sometimes technology doesn't really help you, does it? Okay, I will continue. I will continue. For some reason, it doesn't work with the slideshows. So anyway, Sahlgrenska Science Park, while I'm trying to get my slides up there, Sahlgrenska Science Park has been known for acting in a region where we have a very strong heritage of other industries, such as information and communication technology, ICT, and automotive, or mobility, as it's more called these days. So Gothenburg, which is the capital of West Sweden, is the home of Volvo, both Volvo Cars and Volvo Group. And with that kind of industry, you can also see a conglomerate of other industries closing in. And then we have the history of also a strong life science industry. And what we see is a big shift, of course, not just in West Sweden, but globally in life science. And we can see a couple of trends that are very, very interesting and especially for West Sweden, helps us to develop life science in the future. And those trends, if I start from the first, would include the structural factors that affect us all globally. As populations are aging, we're getting older, but also we see a lot of patent pressure and increased generic competition, both in medtech, but also in pharmaceutical products. And of course, with that comes a payer pressure. We're no longer accepting incremental changes. We want a lot of change to get payer acceptance for new innovations. And of course, we as patients or as relatives, we are demanding much more of the solutions that are introduced. So if we're talking about that as structural factors in society, and then of course the scientific advancements are enormous. We're changing the perspectives in life science from looking at merely treating diseases and symptoms into more prevention and predicting disease, and of course early intervention and trying to get to the root cause. And personalized care and personalized medicine is of course helping that trend and those scientific advancements and regenerative approaches even more so in the future. So that would be the second trend, scientific advancements. And then finally, of course, digitalization. And digitalization is really the giant cherry on top of these big transformational changes. And when we're talking about digitalization in this respect, we're talking about how we see a personalized society. We can do what we want, whenever we want it, because the whole society is digitalized and therefore personalized. But digitalization is, of course, also an enabler of science and an accelerator of science. And then finally, we as human beings, we are connected. As individuals, we're connected 24/7, one way or another, we are connected. And so if we put those three trends together, the structural factors, the scientific advancements, and the digitalization trends, then we have the perfect storm for what we're talking about as sector convergence. And I will try once more to get those slides up and running. That doesn't work. In West Sweden, as I said, we had this strong life science mobility sector. Here we go. It works. And I hope you can see the slides. Doesn't work. I am sorry about my technical issues here. We are uniquely positioned in this area of digital health. So we have a history of, as I said, those big industrial companies. But along with that, we have a whole range of companies working in sectors that are getting more and more interested in life science. And what you see at the left-hand side of this slide is companies in life science that are acting and working in the area where data and machine learning and AI is absolutely critical. Some of them are large, like AstraZeneca, for instance. Some of them are more startup companies. But all in all, what we see is this disruptive innovation that requires that sector, cross-sector knowledge is booming in West Sweden. But it's not just in West Sweden, we are collaborating with the world, and this is where we see the need to connect to, of course, our colleagues in Uppsala and the rest of Sweden, but also to the broader Nordic community and the rest of the world. None of these companies will find their market solely in Sweden. Their markets are global from day one, but what they can get from West Sweden is the connection to others who have learned and explored technologies in another sector, and together they become stronger. One project that Sahlgrenska Science Park is leading, which I just want to highlight, is a project called Into Health. And this project is really looking at taking the benefits of a cross-sector collaboration where we are collaborating with science parks across West Sweden, science parks and actors that are focused on completely different sectors. As you can see, you have urban development, mobility and IT and e-health, smart textiles, gamification, you name it. And together with the procurement center and innovation system within the region's healthcare, we are looking to present to companies and innovators and entrepreneurs issues that the healthcare system has identified as being somewhat neglected or at least in need of new solutions. So we're presenting these defined areas of unmet need to entrepreneurs and innovators, and we're supporting that with this cross-functional, cross-sector support system with science parks and incubators, hoping to match new ideas and solutions with real issues in the healthcare system. So that's one way of working in this sector convergence world. And this slide is just showing you the vast startup scene that we're seeing in life science in West Sweden. And as you can see in this little worm, you have a load of different areas. But what we're seeing is that digital health and AI is the area where we see more startups than any other sector. And that is most likely driven by the connection to those other big industries in the region. And finally, I would like to quote a colleague of mine, Carl Peter Mattsson, who works with investor relations and how to advise startups on raising capital. And what he says is that you need to put yourself in a position to get lucky. And I think that's something that is true, not just for the startup scene, but it's true for anyone. Now, you can put that in other words, as a famous Swedish downhill skier, Ingmar Stenmark, once said that I don't know anything about luck, but I do know that the more I practice, the more luck I get. And that is really our recipe at Sahlgrenska Science Park for getting lucky. So the way we formed our organization and what we do is focused on 3 things that we think you need to get lucky. Irrespective of whether you're a startup, a big company, or an organization of any kind, you need to explore the cross-sector and cross-functional innovation and collaboration. Because life science isn't an isolated sector anymore, and others might have done it before, and you can piggyback on their experiences. And secondly, make sure you utilize that tailored business advice and support that is present where you act. So do what you do best and utilize others to help you with what they do best, irrespective of whether it's about finding your market, defining your product, verifying it. There is help to get, and certainly the Swedish innovation system has been very helpful for many. And then finally, community building, networking, and co-location. Sit with others. I mean, digitally sit with others during these times, but join events and seminars in your field of interest, or explore other fields of interest. Follow blogs, follow podcasts, follow opinion leaders, and learn what others have already tried out and get inspired. Look around, and I would say probably the most important advice of them all, spend more time looking outwards than looking inwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you very much. Very thoughtful explanations. I'm sorry about the PowerPoint, but don't worry, your speech was really good, particularly collaboration. The only way to succeed. I like it.
Thank you.
So now, it is a real pleasure to handing over the screen to the Director of Biocat in Catalonia, Jordi Naval, General Director of Catalan Life Science Biocat, BioRegion Catalonia. Biocat is the institution in Catalonia that brings together the life sciences and healthcare innovation community, aiming to generate knowledge and reflection of the Catalan healthcare and life sciences ecosystem. Thank you so much, Jordi. The screen is yours.
So thank you very much, Francesca and Björn and Mia and the rest of the team. I hope that you see my screen now. I guess yes. So good. What we do at Biocat, I can't subscribe everything that has been said before by my colleagues, but let me talk a little bit about how we see the local ecosystem, life sciences ecosystem here. First of all, from my perspective, it's a question from our perspective, from the Catalan perspective, it's a question of framework. It's a question of, for starts, in which league are we playing? And I would like to say that at least, I'll go through different stages, but if we take a look at the league of scientific publications, the life sciences scientific publications in the recent years, we can see that Catalonia plays in the same league in number of publications and impact factor as countries like Belgium or Denmark or Sweden. Not exactly the same amounts, but I can say that we are in the middle of these kind of countries. And for me, this is like the first lesson, because you need to know, as a country, you need to know where you are. You need to know your benchmark, which are the countries you want to be compared with. Catalonia cannot be compared in absolute terms with UK, Germany, but it can and it should be compared with Sweden and with Belgium. And I don't know if you, Francesca, says that, but I really don't like, or I think it's not the best way to frame our situation, saying that Catalonia is south of Europe. Catalonia is not south of Europe. Catalonia plays in the same league as Belgium or Sweden. So I think this is, first of all, a question of mental framework. Besides, if we take a look at this is the Nature City Index, the scientific production by city in science and technology, we can see that in Europe, Barcelona is the city number 8 in Europe in scientific production. First come Paris, London, Cambridge, Zurich, Berlin, Munich, Oxford, of course, but then comes Barcelona. Sorry to say, before Copenhagen or Stockholm. So we really do play in that European league. And why so? Because, as Björn has presented and Mia too, of course, Barcelona has its own qualities. First of all, we are a cool city, not a cold city, a cool city. You see the Sagrada Familia here, where you can find just at a walking distance, this is 10 kilometers, so you can walk or you can go with your scooter. You can find 4 big universities, thousands of university students within the city at a walking distance. You can find 2 of the best business schools in the world, ESE and ESADE, for example. They are sitting here. You can find some of the best hospitals also in the world, in Europe at least, Clinic, Vallebron, etc., etc. I mean, they are sitting there. You also can find some relevant science parks, again, within the city at a walking distance. You even have one of the top supercomputers in Europe here. I mean, again, within the city. So you can take your scooter and you can do your research at the university, at the science park, do some calculations in the afternoon at the supercomputer, and go visit some investors here at Passeig Grasse Main Avenue, and go to your co-working space and open your MacBook here at the port, at the Barcelona Tech City co-working space. So everything is really concentrated in a very dense knowledge space. And moving a little bit further in my rationale, yes, we do have the science. We have excellent science. We do have a rich and dense ecosystem. Those are fundamental assets that we do have. But in terms of investment, I have bad news, but also good news. This is the accumulated private funds raised in biotech companies over the recent 4 years, 2017 to 2020. We can see that the accumulated funds, mainly VC investment in our biotech companies over these recent 4 years, is around 300 million. And I said before that having the same science as Sweden, Sweden has raised, has captured, has attracted more than 2,000 millions in capital investment in biotech companies, and Belgium 6 billion. But if you exclude Galapagos, with this kind of an outlier, because by itself this company raised 5 billion, it's around 1,700 million of investment. So we are a little bit behind Sweden or Belgium, which are, in my opinion, the countries with which we should compare. And again, this is not kind of bad news, but in fact, for me, it's good news. This is excellent news. Why? Because we are here today, 300 million cumulated investment 2017 to 2020. This is where Sweden and Belgium are today, around 2 billion investment in biotech companies, all included, biotech, medtech, digital health, etc. Good news is that, do you know where Sweden and Belgium were 4 to 5 years ago, 2014, 2017? Exactly here. So we are now today more or less where Sweden and Belgium were 4 years ago, not 400, 4 years ago, which is, in my opinion, excellent news, because if we follow the same trend, we can increase the investment that we as a BioRegion can attract in the following years from 300 here to our goal, 1.5 billion in 2020, I mean, cumulated investment in 2021-24. And for me, this is excellent news, because when you attract investors, and we are all doing the same, I mean, we are competing for a limited number of investors, I can tell them, look, you can invest in a mature market, smart people, Nordic countries, of course, good science, excellent science, but you can also invest in a country that has the same fundamentals, the same level of basic science, but is still underventured. It still has room to grow in the near future. So I think this is an interesting value proposition. And so this is, I hope this is food for discussion later during the panel. But again, this is not only money. Why is this important? Why investment is important? Two simple examples. If we look who has developed the COVID vaccines, the two front runners in the COVID vaccines, two biotech companies that were born from universities, from good science. So far, so good. We have that. Talking about Moderna and talking about BioNTech, but two companies that are on the stock market, on NASDAQ. So I think, I mean, this is why numbers, why financials are relevant for our discussions, because we can only tap all our potential, all our European potential. Sweden, Barcelona, Catalonia, all included, is just Europe. We can only tap this potential if we have functioning capital markets. I mean, it not only, but it's one of the main factors. I mean, BioNTech is on the NASDAQ, Moderna, they are on the NASDAQ, they have raised hundreds of thousands of millions. And this is a limitation that we all have. We can have as many startups as you wish, dozens, hundreds of startups. That's good, that's excellent. But we need those companies to grow and to be game changers in the world. And one of the limiting factors, not the only one, but one of the limiting factors, and again, one of the opportunities, is that we need well-capitalized, risk-loving capital markets. And the Stockholm stock market is one excellent example of a stock market which is growing, but we need more of that. Yes, and again, one question for you, Björn and Mia, is I presented where Sweden and Belgium are today. Question for you is, where are you going to be 5 years from now? I know what's our goal as a bioregion. I'm curious to know what would be yours in the future. So again, thank you all for this opportunity. I'm looking forward for the debate.
Thank you, Jordi. Thank you. Let's focus on the good news, and hopefully in 4 years' time, we will be where Sweden is now, or maybe even higher. Okay, and last but not least, and moving to a more concrete presentation, explaining and stressing on a specific example of cooperation between Karolinska Institute in Sweden and Catalonia, I am very pleased to give now the screen to Núria Montserrat, a stem cell biologist and ICREA professor at the Institute for Bioengineering of Catalonia, IBEC. And as it is commonly said these days, Núria, the screen is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your nice introduction, and also for this nice roundtable that we are going to be finalizing after this presentation, and then leading to a very nice discussion, I guess. So the title of my talk will be about what we mainly are doing in our laboratories in IBEC, in the Institute of Bioengineering. We are searching for solutions for human health. And this is the driven motivation of my institute, which is in the city of Barcelona. And our main drive and passion for doing science is around excellence. So we mainly are developing strategies profiting from bioengineering in our institute, as I mentioned, which is in the Barcelona Scientific Park. We are aware that we are also part of a big institutional collaboration of different institutes in Barcelona, which is the BISC, the Barcelona Institute of Science and Technology. We are one of the 7 top leading research centers of this nice initiative. And we have been awarded as an institute twice with the Excellence Prize Severo Ochoa from the Ministry of Economy and Competitiveness, which recognizes our work in excellence in the field of bioengineering. Going back to numbers again, our institute holds or have been holding around 20 ERCs, and we are in total nowadays 8 ICRIA professors at IBEC. Something that is also important for us is to work for patients and to develop solutions for patients. And that is why our institute is embedded within the city of Barcelona, closely working with one of those very nice and big hospitals that Jordi Naval was also commenting. We have laboratories also very near the hospital clinic in Barcelona, also in Hospital Bellvitge, and we have been recently opening a new big space for engineering in the campus of the university UPS in Barcelona. These are our numbers. We are around 380 researchers from all over the world. And this number of ERC grants also has been increasing in the last times. And now more going into my research that I was able to join this nice institute by 2015. Let me just tell you that I am a stem cell biologist. I work with stem cells, but in particular, I work with stem cells that are pluripotent, meaning that we can derive and instruct these cells in the laboratory to become whatever cell we desire, whatever cell we want, with the prospect to generate knowledge around how these tissues develop and to understand how these tissues get disease. And in the last time, these are some of the publications from my group. We have been very focused on understanding how to specifically guide these processes that we say differentiation, as I mentioned, to develop structures in the laboratory, small pieces of tissues that allow us to make questions. And in the last years, not only my group, but also other important groups as the ones that are already located in Sweden, we have been working in the generation of a small tissues that we call organoids, because now we can reproduce these tissue structures in 3 dimensions, and we can generate novel platforms to understand how these tissues form and also how to understand disease. So in my lab, we lead the first publication on the generation of small kidneys, mini kidneys or kidney organoids, already almost 2 years ago. And we were able to show that these mini organs were very similar in terms of function and in terms of some specific features to the fetal kidney in the humans in the 2nd trimester gestation. So profiting from this knowledge, we started a collaboration with the Professor Ali Mirazimi at Karolinska Institute, as he is a virologist that already is working with coronavirus for more than 20 years, and also with other zoonotic diseases such as Ebola or hemorrhagic fever. I think that you are now all aware that SARS coronavirus 2 as SARS coronavirus 1 are using the same receptor to enter into human cells. And already in February, when we were approached by Ali Mirazimi and Joseph Penninger, we were missing a good model in where to test all these biological aspects, how the virus was infecting human cells. And our purpose together in this nice collaboration was also to explore if we could identify a therapeutic compound that was going to be blocking the interaction of the virus with the receptor. And by that time already, it was developed a compound, a soluble recombinant human protein ACE2, that was already tested in a cohort of healthy donors in a first one clinical trial. So we decided to explore collaboratively our kidney organoids and also vascular organoids developed by our third collaborator, Joseph Penninger, who was also leading this big participation or this big collaboration. So the first thing we did in my laboratory in Barcelona was to start producing these kidney organoids every day, thousands of them, and to ship these organoids into Karolinska Institute, as I mentioned already in February. And also we did check if our kidney organoids were expressing the gate of the SARS coronavirus 2, and we observed that this was the case. So we were having in hands a good model to study these processes. And Ali Mirazimi at Karolinska Institute, already in February, they were able to propagate and grow SARS coronavirus 2 viral preparations from COVID-19 patients that were already diagnosed in January in Sweden. So as I mentioned, we were shipping our kidney organoids to Karolinska Institute, and the group of Ali Mirazimi was infecting these kidney organoids and checking for the expression levels of the viral mRNA in these samples. Once they checked that this model was indeed going to be useful for testing these questions, they also tested on the efficacy of the therapeutic compound to block the infection of this virus. This collaboration has been leading to important publications in the field. We were able to lead for the first publication using organoid technology to study SARS coronavirus 2 in Cell paper in April. And after that, we have been also working together and releasing more data about the use of organoids for understanding COVID-19 disease. And very recently, we have also published that this therapeutic compound is efficient in COVID-19 patients. So this also proves from a more scientific side on the amenability of organoids to accelerate research and to accelerate this kind of knowledge. So as I mentioned, this project that we are running all together has different and important impacts that we want to highlight. From the scientific side, we are working in an emerging field by using organoids and also modeling host and cell interaction. We are also working in a transdisciplinary and multidisciplinary and synergistic manner, combining different knowledge, but also taking into consideration that we are all located in different countries. And also we are using unconventional approaches to address a very specific question that came up because of these pandemics. At the social level, let me just also tell you that we are implementing responsible research and innovation principles from the European community. We are working a lot in public engagement, and I have devoted 2 slides of this. And also we are training and also engaging our PhD students to collaborate more. And from the industrial side, as I mentioned, all these details and all these things that we are doing in the lab have a very well impact on the market size. Regarding tissue engineering market or organ on a chip or CRISPR-Cas9 market that we are also using in our projects in collaboration. So Professor Ali Mirazimi is a professor in the Karolinska Institute, but also he's running a position in the Sweden National Veterinary Institute in Sweden. And from that moment, we have been, from April, we have been applying to different calls. We have got a project from the IMI H2020 call that is led by Ali Mirazimi, in where I am a partner. And also we have got 2 projects from Spanish agencies that I am coordinating, but in where Ali Mirazimi is, of course, our partner together with Professor Joseph Penninger. I would also like to highlight that our work that was published in Cell on the use of these kidney organoids, for example, for studying SARS coronavirus 2 infection, and also blood vessel organoids from Professor Joseph Penninger, had led to wide coverage in press, not only in Spain, but also all around the world. And these are some numbers about the impact of our work in the media in Spain, for example. Also highlighting radio programs and the range of people, and finally the society that has been involved and also participating in our research. So this is my group. As I mentioned, we are in the Institute for Bioengineering of Catalonia in Barcelona, but this collaboration has been possible because of the work of Joseph Penninger, who is nowadays director of the Life Science Institute at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. He was indeed the first person that was working with this receptor for SARS coronavirus 1. He also did demonstrate on the mechanism of entrance of SARS coronavirus 1 using this receptor already almost 15 years ago. And its collaboration together with Professor Ali Mirazimi brought them to me for looking for a kind of model for studying how SARS coronavirus 2 infect human cells. Of course, these are all our funding agencies. I'm very happy to say that just yesterday, I was also awarded with an ERC consolidator. So I'm now having an ERC starting grant, and I will be able to consolidate my work also taking advantage of an ERC consolidator grant. So thank you very much for your attention, and I will be very happy to discuss about more scientific questions related to our work. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nuria. It was me that I wanted to convey to the rest of the panelists and to our audience that we must congratulate you, since we learned that yesterday you got this consolidator grant by the European Research Council. This is very important because it's a grant that really is for the best researchers in Europe. So congratulations, Nuria. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you so much for your ideas, for inspiring us this afternoon. Now it is time for the Q&A part. Please, Nikolai Norek from Students Uppsala, it's your turn to chair and moderate briefly a 20 minutes discussion, taking into account the questions raised by our audience. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Francesca, and thank you to all of you for a fantastic panel, for a fantastic afternoon. It's exactly as Francesca also mentioned, we have a close eye. A couple of our colleagues help us with that on the chat on the YouTube live stream. So please add your questions there. We will pick up questions and we will be focusing on your questions there. I want to say two words before I dive into some of the questions that already have come up. I work for Stunts, as Björn does, in Uppsala, and I had the pleasure of collaborating and coordinating and putting together a study trip to Barcelona not so long ago. Even it feels like a lifetime ago because it was before Corona. And we had the opportunity to meet a lot of organizations, groups, individuals, actors from the Catalonian ecosystem, life science ecosystem especially. And it has been a real pleasure and very fascinating and inspiring also for our work here in Uppsala. So we are really grateful and also honored to be able to continue our work. We would have loved, of course, to revisit or the Catalonian side to visit us in Uppsala already this year, but for obvious reasons we need to do this on the way we do this right now. But so we hope that this is just another step on our collaboration. Having said all that, I think Jordi, you had a very nice way of putting it and describing Barcelona and maybe also comparing it to Uppsala. I think you said in your speech, Barcelona is a cool and not a cold city, right? And so I took that almost personally, but you're of course very right. It's a very cool city and it's a very, very inspiring and interesting environment. One of the, if I'll pick up on that, and I would like to ask the first question to both Jordi and Björn, which comes from the YouTube channel, and that was M.Sc Daban, I hope I pronounced your name right, that posted there, given that our two organizations, our two ecosystems have a very good track record of connecting and catalyzing and promoting life science ecosystems, what are your impressions on the before and the after the pandemics? Will the role of our organizations and maybe also ecosystems change in a way, or are we going back, so to say, to what has been normal before? Maybe you elaborate a bit on that. What will we see a change in our work? Jordi, you want to start? And then I'll ask them.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I would say two things, maybe not directly related to the collaboration between both ecosystems, both bioregions, I think is going to be a consequence of the two aspects that I would like to highlight. First of all, is that we are seeing an influx of capital in new VCs, new investors wanting to invest in biotech, in health in general. This is a trend that we are all seeing. And the consequence of that is that it's impossible that they are going to spend that money in just one region. So, I mean, what will happen is that Catalan investors will invest in Sweden, Swedish investors will invest in Barcelona and in Amsterdam and everywhere. So first of all, it's going to be cross-pollination of from the private capital side, investing more often across countries, across boundaries. I think this is the first consequence. And then second consequence or second trend is that really in the future, nobody cares if you are based, I mean, where are you sitting? In which city do you take kids to school? Who cares? I mean, you will have a team, top-level biotech, digital health teams working from different countries, all on the same project. I'm involved in a company, biotech company, where the CEO is from Sweden, the board is from Switzerland, and the CFO, we hired him in the middle of the pandemics. He's from Belgium. I've never seen him ever in person, but he's doing an excellent job. So it's a multi-European team, and you really don't care anymore where are you physically sitting if the company exists, is incorporated in a given country. And those two aspects have consequences for the bioregions, because we will need to be more open. We may have a company based in Sweden where part of the team is living in Barcelona and invested by a Dutch or a Belgian fund, and all the possible combinations and permutations of that, and where the science was born at the IBEC, and half of the science comes from Barcelona and the other half of the science comes from Sweden. So it's just Europe. It's just, not even that, it's just a time zone. And the countries become time zones. In which time zone do you live? And it's less important if it's minus 20 degrees outside or is plus 20 degrees outside. Well, it's very important, but it's not relevant to our conversation.
Great.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Jordi. I think you touched upon many things. First and foremost, I would like to stress or emphasize that even in a crisis, the crisis creates opportunities. So we need to tap into those opportunities, of course. And some of them are what I also stated in my initial speech, was that the medical challenge of the pandemic and the COVID situation will only be solved by our sector. So in combination, of course, with those who are very skilled in data science. But in the traditional life science sector is the one who will come up with the new solutions, most likely, while maybe the tracking will come from more data science. I think that's interesting. I think also opportunities that have arisen is that the sense of urgency has created a need for efficiency in organizations and in communications and in relations, in everything that causes priorities. And priorities means focus, and focus could be very good, I think. But then also I would like to touch upon what you said, the last thing there, Jordi. I also actually wrote a chronicle for Life Science magazine in Sweden about that even if we could do it before, why don't we have board members from all over the world and tap into the competences that we can see anywhere? You know, why limit ourselves to the close surroundings in Sweden or in Uppsala or in Gothenburg, when we can do it from all over the world, especially from emerging markets where we can have a very different perspective, which can bring a lot of interesting ideas into the company. So it's an open game now for that, I think.
Thank you, Björn. If I will add another question that comes from the YouTube channel, and I want to really emphasize that we are prioritizing this channel, so please use that. For those of you following us, a very good number here. And the question comes from Josep Jansa from the European Disease Control Center. And he asks, what could Sweden and Catalonia learn from each other and better supporting work in this domain, in the life science domain. So what could there be of specific learnings for Sweden and Catalonia learning from each other? And I'd like maybe to ask Mia if you could focus a bit on the what you think that Sweden is doing right, or what you do right, what you feel like this is something that you could, you know, package, present, and promote. And Nuria, maybe you could now also with your view on in this project that you described between Karolinska and your environment. Yes. When you see that, what would you recommend from a Catalonia perspective to your Swedish counterpart? Shall we try that? And we start with Mia.
Okay, so I think that.
Well, Nuria, wait. We start with Mia. We start.
Okay, sorry.
But you can already start thinking. Mia.
Yeah. So thanks for the question, Nikolai, and to whoever asked. I do believe we have a lot to learn from each other. Definitely, what works well and what I think works well in the Swedish system is, as I said in my speech, being a small country means you will always have to be on your toes. You can't expect the world to look at you. You somehow need to put yourself in a position to be lucky, right? And I think that's the innovation support system that is built up with a lot of science parks that are interconnected and linked up via different forms of regional and national collaboration groups, and also the availability of soft funding in many cases organized via these science parks and incubator systems for companies in their early days, and also the help of the big companies helping the small ones, realizing that you really build successful ecosystem if you have the perfect balance between the big and the small and the academic partners. So I think it's a matter of sharing is caring, and the more open you can be. I mean, Swedes are quite often accused for being slightly naive, and I think that is true, but I also think that is part of the success, is that we are sharing and we are very willing to give to others.
Thank you, Mia. Nuria. Nuria. Oh, no.
I was not able to disable the microphone. So I cannot say better than last sentence that Mia uses. So I think that this is my small contribution, because we have started this collaboration already in February, though it has been super fruitful and we have been speeding up because of the pandemics. And we all realized how naive we are. So we were sharing from second zero. So we were all of us, not only Professor Mirazimi in Sweden and myself in Barcelona, but also the people in Austria and in Canada. We were all sharing this passion to share and to be open and to collaborate, and then everything happened in a very magic manner. And I think that we do share a lot of commonalities between Catalonia ecosystem and the Swedish ecosystem, I would rather say, because we are also having this kind of helps from the institution, also from the government, the Catalan government that supports our work with the COVID-19. This has been very nicely observed in our region. And then of course the Spanish government did also help a lot by funding our project very soon in April. So I think that we are all sharing this this manner of approaching questions and the speed, and also the manner to collaborate, all of us. And also because in Sweden you have an incredible ecosystem on stem cells, and this is my background. I've been also amazed by the quality of research, but also my partners in Karolinska, they also discovered that we are doing incredible things in Catalonia. So I think that we all share nice topics and also the manner to approach to the scientific question in a very collaborative manner.
Very good. Thank you both. I would like to add another question from my end, and I will also pick up another couple of questions from the channel, from the YouTube channel for the last round of questions also. If we look into the future and think of what do you think would be the most crucial changes that we need in order to benefit both the European and Swedish life science sector? I think, Jordi, you said this very nicely and you emphasized this many times. By the way, also something that you really feel visiting Barcelona is this European perspective and this part of a bigger ecosystem, is exactly as we do in all the other all the other likewise professional places that we have. So the question would be, what could be the most crucial changes that we need in order to benefit more, that the European and Swedish life science sector would benefit more? Jordi, would you like to start, and then I'll ask Björn to follow up?
Yeah, I think, thanks. I think that we will all end up talking about personalized medicine, expanding lives, digitalization, etc., which is all good. But if you go a little bit deeper into these concepts, then a number of challenges arise. I mean, first challenge, I mean, I would just name 3 challenges with everything that includes the word personalization and digitalization and artificial intelligence. For me, immediately raises at least 3 red flags. And I would like to share the red flags with you and with the audience. First red flag is show me data. We all assume that artificial intelligence is going to be a better way of caring patients. Yes, no, show me data. I mean, show me the company is doing artificial intelligence and telemedicine that patients are better off at the end of the day with telemedicine. You have to show that, because otherwise it's just technology for the sake of the technology. And as a user, as a taxpayer, I want to see real results in terms of patient care, survival, longer lives, quality of life, etc., etc. So showing data is one crucial aspect. Second is how is the system going to adopt technology? I think that nowhere in the world, at least nowhere in Europe, there is one single COVID app tracker that works, that has really contributed. I mean, it's not a difficult technological problem. In fact, it's quite simple, but it's very difficult to make, to have those digital tools adopted by the system, by the actual doctors, by the actual nurses, right? So this is a challenge. And the third is, every time I hear the word personalization, I become more and more worried, because this is an exact synonym of more and more expensive drugs, more and more expensive care. All the personalized drugs will cost hundreds of thousands of euros, and who is going to pay for that? And for me, I mean, if we go to a certain level of the debate, we will, I think, in my opinion, we need to be serious about those questions, because we are not the US. We are publicly, I mean, everybody can, in the US, private insurers pay for that or not, but we are in Sweden and Catalonia, Europe in general, the healthcare system is supported by the government. It's a public healthcare system. It's not sustainable. I mean, personalized medicine, at least in the short term, is really not sustainable. We cannot afford that. We cannot pay for that. And for me, this is a challenge that we all have, and we have to solve it for the future, because patients will start demanding personalized medicine, CAR-Ts, gene therapies, etc., we simply cannot pay for that. At least we don't. I don't know you, but we don't.
Thank you, Jordi. Björn.
Can I comment on that?
Absolutely.
So I think, Jordi, you're raising some really important factors. But if we start with the comment, just a comment on AI and digitalization, I think AI is a tool. AI is not the solution, but AI is an enabler to make us do things that can improve healthcare moving forward. So there is no reason to talk about AI, and there is plenty of data showing how you can improve healthcare. Certainly, when it comes to situations where the patient are better not actually visiting the healthcare system, such as with elderly people with multiple diseases where you need a constant checkup. And if they should come into the hospital every time they needed that checkup, they might have needed to visit a whole range of different clinics, and B, they might actually catch other diseases or infections. So with the opportunity of digitalizing their care, you can keep track on a daily basis, and you can ensure that they get the wholeness and the personalized care they need in their own home. So that's just one example where I think that digitalization and those kind of systems are working very well. Another example is how with COVID, we can see the emergence of new technologies really being understood better. So for instance, we have one company based out of Gothenburg who works with a tool which measures your vital signs in 1 meter's distance without anyone touching anyone. So you're just standing in front of a little meter who's measuring all your vital signs. And they had a bit of a troublesome time explaining the benefits for anyone outside the acute care system, where everybody completely understood it. You're not needing 2 nurses putting on all these equipment. But with COVID, all of a sudden, everybody realizes what a great benefit that would be. Imagine you had that vital sign measurement in front of you at home, instead of second guessing what could be the issue. And to the response to your comment on personalized care, I think it's not just about personalized medicine, it's about personalized care. But also, can we afford not to personalize care? Can we afford to go for the lowest common denominator for everyone, and hoping for the best and hoping that it will work, and just, fingers crossed and hope nobody dies, instead of going for a cost-efficient personalized care model in the future? It does require a lot of health economics. I agree to that, but I think there is no way going back. There is only going forward.
Very good, Mia. Björn.
Yeah, sorry.
So the most crucial changes that we need in order to benefit the life science sector, to benefit the one also that Jordi had and Mia commented on.
Yeah, so to benefit Europe and European or Swedish life science, definitely I can see a few things. First, I strongly believe that the growing collective intelligence is something we need to tap into. We know that the collective intelligence is increasing much faster than the individual intelligence, quite obvious. But in order to do that, we need to have open data, we need to share knowledge, and we need to have some kind of mobility of competences independently how we solve it. So the faster we can have that, the high frequency of that, the better we can actually benefit from it. In addition, I would say also we need to go into coming to the adoption that Jordi talked about. I think we need to have a society that know what it needs, and it need to ask for things that will solve its needs. So we need to be open to the entrepreneurial ideas into the society and the initiative that they can do to benefit preventive health and new solutions that in itself can create a growth in the public-private collaborations. And lastly, also, which I like a lot, I think we should dream bigger. I think what we can imagine, we can create, and we should not be limited by what we believe today to be impossible. I think we should look at the speed, for instance, how we produce the vaccines, In the beginning of the year, when we saw the pandemic coming, we said that it's at least 3 to 4 years away, you know. But now we have seen that maybe we have the first approval within less than a year, actually. And I think that's because there's our incentives in the system. We work together and we dream big, you know. We have a great hope for it.
Fantastic, thank you. We are in the last couple of seconds of our panel discussion here before Francesca takes over and closes for today. I would like to, so the last set will be 5 years from now, and I would like to pick up one from the chat, and I ask Nuria to answer that from your perspective. There, Julian Goy, I hope I say this right, is asking if what you think the role of open innovation will be in the life science sector industry in the next 5 years or so. A very short, your short answer, Nuria. So open innovation in your field in 5 years, within the next 5 years.
Wow, this is a very difficult question, but
yes.
I think in our field, in the field of organoids and stem cells, I think the field will be much more advanced, because now we have been also seeing that this technology is really here for the last 5 years, and where we are and where we want to be, and the investment of industry in manufacturing, for example, organoids, and all these companies that are now around the technology.
Thank you. My colleagues in Stockholm, that is, are saying we have no time left, but I would like to ignore it for just 15 seconds, because Jordi, you asked during your presentation that you were curious to know where Sweden will be in 5 years. Björn, you have 10 seconds, and Mia, you can comment 2 seconds.
2 sentences. I think that what you showed that was the strength of the Swedish investments was actually very much into digital health. So if you look at the companies, very much into the fusion between life science and tech. And since we're very strong in that field, both in tech and life sciences, and I only think that we're in the beginning of something, I honestly believe that we will have a higher acceleration than 4 times.
Thank you.
I agree. That's my comment.
Jordi, we are in it together.
We will never catch you up, which is good. You will always be ahead of us. Excellent news.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all so much for this fantastic debate.
Thank
Francesca.
You. Thank you, Nikolai. I'm sorry I was pressing you because the time runs. Thank you also to the audience for such notable and pertinent questions. My final remarks, please stay with us a bit longer. It will be worth, because now it's the moment to tie research together with solidarity. Stay tuned. For the delegation of the Catalan government, we are very proud and excited to conclude with a nice gesture by presenting an important cause, La Marató. This initiative, which wishes to foster solidarity, but also to increase awareness and knowledge about research. For more information about it, you may visit the description box in the YouTube channel. Catalans are a very committed people, and this very year, 2020, there are 2 features, 2 particular considerations, which are quite unique with regards to this campaign. First, and I mentioned it earlier, the 2020 Marató is devoted to the COVID pandemic, so a topic it concerns us all. And second, that the Catalan communities in the Nordic countries, in Denmark, in Iceland, in Norway, in Sweden, the Catalan people living there have actively done different activities in each of those countries in order to make this event, La Marató, known and fostering it. You will see now how our Catalan friends from those countries, and using their local languages, in Danish, in Icelandic, in Norwegian and Swedish, but with subtitles translated in English, would explain us how they have been actively involved in the fundraising campaign to fight against the pandemic COVID-19. Once again, I would like to thank you all for taking part this afternoon in this event. And now, the final screen. Thank you so much.
masaya barang godandaya. Och jag heter Maria Teresa Beyes och jag är från Barcelona och jag är med min Xavi och vi är från Catalanska huset av Reykjavik, Alexander.
Catalans Decay er en kulturel forening i Danmark. Vi har base i København. Vores mission er at promovere den katalanske kultur blandt dem, der taler katalansk, dem, der har en interesse for Catalonia bredt. Vi laver aktiviteter, vi fejrer traditioner og laver aktiviteter for både børn, voksne og de unge. Vi deltager også aktivt i det danske kulturforeningsliv.
Föreningen Las Cuatro Barras de Stockholm bedriver fritidsaktiviteter för barn. Under året träffas medlemmarna för att fira de traditionella högtiderna i Katalonien, såsom la Castanyada, la Torronada och la Calçotada.
Vi er catalanere i Tromsø. Vi deltar fordi vi tror på verdiene til la marató og på bidraget det har gitt til medisinsk forskning de siste årene, som har hjulpet tusentvis av berørte mennesker.
Deltar i år Las Cuatro Barras de Stockholm i la marató. La Marató de TV3 er et solidaritetsprojekt som stødjer grundforskning i biomedicin.
Og vi synes derfor, at det er vigtigt at støtte forskning for at undersøge, hvordan effekterne af en covid-19-infektion kan reduceres. Vi vil derfor meget gerne støtte La Marató.
Ja, vi tager bare hjælpe til at få þessi bóluefni fyrir þessi COVID-19 og så naturligvis vi ser bare mjög spændende til at hjælpe eins og ég var að segja.
Vi er veldig engagerte folk og vi er veldig glade for at have muligheden til at samarbejde så langt hjemmefra.
2020 var og fortsætter med at være et underligt år. Covid-19-pandemien har været udfordrende på mange fronter, på sundhed og økonomi, men også for den kulturelle sektor.
Við erum að kynna tvo atriði. Eitt sem bara göngutúr í Reykjavík, það til að sýna hvernig eru bara gatar sem eru bara, það er enginn þar. Og annan sem ljóðstund, líka á mín formi, sem verður alveg bara ljóð á katalónsku Íslandi, sem verður flutt eftir Maria Teresa.
La pluja i el vent estan netejant els carrers i potser demà passejaran tranquils els nens.
Vår aktivitet är en rolig frågesport om stereotyper och svensk kultur i allmänhet. Förbindelserna och utbytet mellan Sverige och Katalonien är många, med gemensamma aspekter som engagemang, initiativ och vilja att gå vidare. Och andra som skiljer oss åt, såsom gastronomi, spontanitet och sociala relationer. Frågeformularet hjälper oss att lära känna Sverige lite bättre, samtidigt som vi har roligt och bidrar till årets maraton.
For at støtte La Marató, vi laver 2 aktiviteter. Det første er en Caradió-konkurrence. Caradió er en meget bredt og sjov tradition, juletradition i Catalonia. Og så den bedste Caradió får en præmie.
Caradió, avellanes i turrons, no caguis arengades, que són massa salades. Cagaturrons, que són més bons. Caradió!
Det andet, vi laver en bango til jul, og alle de penge, vi får for at sælge kartoner, dem sender vi ubeskåret til La Marató.
Når det gælder aktiviteterne vi har planlagt, siden det er ikke muligt at rejse frit akkurat nå, vi ønsker at vise Tromsø og forklare byens historie. Vi skal laste op videoerne til Instagram. En anden aktivitet vil være at forklare nu en eventyr fra Tromsø eller Norge generelt, for både de unge og de voksne. Tak for os.